Hey everyone, it's Sarah here. Today I am back with a video that is all about the Week in the Life project. And I realized that I've never done a video on my channel before that is kind of centered around Week in the Life. No real reason. I think I just wasn't really making videos when I was working on these projects, so I never posted flip throughs. So I wanted to share flip throughs to start off this video, and then I'm going to be talking about my plans for this year's project. So I'm going to jump right into my 2018. I decided to do it in a traveler's notebook for this year. I was a brand new mom. I had a 2-month-old. Which it's so fun to go back and see how little she was and what our routine was at the time. So I'm so happy that I captured this. I only lasted for 3 days, which is totally fine by me. I hit burnout, I was sleep deprived, and I'm just really happy with what I wrote down. It was kind of hybrid, so I used some photo templates from In a Creative Bubble. I typed out all my journaling when she was napping, and I just kind of threw it all together. So my kind of formula was to have a morning, an afternoon, and an evening for each day. And then I just jotted down notes from the day and just kind of summarized the content of our routine. So that worked really well. I did go in and embellish just a little bit, just a little bit of stamping and some washi tape and some digital stamps. And that was it. And I really love the simplicity of that. I think that's why I'm going back to a traveler's notebook for this year. For 2019, I decided to go with a 3x8 album. This is an Ali Edwards album that I'm not sure if it's still available. If it is, I'll link it down below. It wasn't for this project, it was for something completely different, but I decided to use it for this. And that This Is Us acrylic is from Colorcast Designs. I really love having that visible as I'm flipping through the pages of my album. But I definitely struggled with this size. I'm not sure why, if it was just for this project or I'm not sure what was going on there. I think part of the problem was that I didn't really have a plan. I decided kind of last minute that I was going to join in. So what I'm sharing with you here are the dividers. I decided to use those little acrylic, they're not really acrylic, they're kind of transparency words, and I just stapled them onto the transparency dividers. All of the products that I used were from past Ali Edwards Week in the Life collections, which I'm not sure if they're available anymore. They might have been on sale previously, but I know there's a lot of really good stuff out there for this year, so I'll link up her shop down below. And then I just had a mixture of those 3x4 pocket pages with the full 3x8 pages, and then the pages that have a little section at the top that I think is 2x3. Those definitely trip me up. I never know what to do with the top section. So for some of them, I added in the day of the week. And I was just kind of trying to use up page protectors and supplies. So this is kind of a mishmash of a bunch of different stuff, and my formula changed from day to day, which I think made it a little bit frustrating and definitely not cohesive. But again, I printed out all my photos. I got my journaling in there. I do have empty spots, but I'm still just so happy that I have what I have documented, because I can go back and look at this and see how much our routine has changed and what life looked like last year, which is very different from now. Well, especially now what we're going through, but during this year, it's changed a lot. And I'm just, always very thankful that I've printed off photos and all of that. So I did the full 7 days, but as I kind of went along and as the week progressed, I definitely took less photos. Also, I printed some larger photos. Some were not kind of full page photos. Some were just kind of landscape, and I just kind of played around with that to see what I liked. I think I prefer the smaller out of pocket pages, if that makes sense, that you kind of saw at the beginning of the album. And my plan was to actually add some labels to those, but that never happened. And so even though I do have some blank spots in here, I most likely will never go back and fill those in. I have all my journaling, have all my photos, and I'm really happy with that. I'm also really happy that I kept these notes at the end of my album. I just 3-hole punched them and stuck them in. That is a template that's available for free on Allie's website, so I'll try to find that and link it up. But that was really helpful. I do have additional details in there about what I was eating and just other little notes throughout the day. So that also helped kind of write things down and then come back to it when I was working on my album. So that was kind of a look at 2018 and 2019. Now I'm going to go ahead and talk about what my plans are for this year. So I did decide to make my own traveler's notebook. My reason for this is that I want to make it a completely hybrid notebook. So I want to type up all my journaling, but instead of like sticking my pages into a notebook, I want to actually run the pages through my printer so that it's directly on the notebook pages. And I hope that makes a little bit more sense as I walk you through this. But as you can see, I've written notes on all of my pages. And I'm going to talk about that in a second. I want to talk a little bit about this paper first. If you do follow me on Instagram, you may have seen I posted something on my stories where I was on the hunt for a really good quality white dot grid paper. And I found that it's really, really hard to find that kind of paper, especially if you're looking on somewhere like Amazon. You can go out to paper specialty stores and probably find something there, but obviously given the situation that we're going through right now, I can't do that. So I was looking for something that's really accessible, and I did find this paper. This is the Diskette disc-bound refill paper. It came in a pack of 100, and I believe this is 120 GSM paper. The downside, and I don't really know if it's a downside, but you can see the top of those pages or the side of the pages has the disc-bound punch. These are actually made for, a disc-bound system. But that doesn't actually get in the way of making a notebook. So you can still get 8 1/4 inches from top to bottom if you just trim off that little disc-bound punch at the top. So you can see here, I'm just kind of showing you how that fits on there, and then you have a little bit of space on the edge. So I was able to get 8.5 by 8 1/4 for my notebook pages. The one thing that I think might bother some people, and I kind of tend to be a little bit of a paper snob and care about the color of my paper, but it's not going to bother me too much for this project. But this is not a true white. So I wanted to share just some different examples of other notebooks so you can see, because it's a little hard to see with lighting. Even though I filmed this in natural lighting, it's still a little bit difficult on camera to get a sense of the white color of this. But this is a Felicity Jane notebook. This is my favorite plain white paper in any notebook. To me, it's like the truest, creamiest white. It's just a really crisp, clean white. So you can see that's a pretty big contrast between the two. And the dot grid paper from Diskette definitely tends to go towards the grayish tone. Here I'm pulling out an Everyday Explorers notebook. Their pages are ivory. And you can see obviously that the disc bound is more white and is not at all kind of like a creamy color. I would say the closest it comes to anything I can reference is the Archer and Olive notebooks. And still you can see the Archer and Olive notebooks still have a whiter paper. So this disc-bound paper definitely does have a bit of a grayish tone, but it's not enough to really distract me. I still think that alone, when it has photos and when it has journaling on top of it, it's still white enough. I think it's fine. So I'm really impressed with the quality of it. Like I said, it's 120 GSM. So when you stamp on it, you're not really going to have any bleeding and you're going to have very little shadowing. I did do a little bit of test stamping so I could show you here what it looks like on the back. I stamped out some different color theory inks and different archival inks. And so when I flip it over, you can see, I'm not sure what happened with that bottom stamp. I think I stamped twice on that one because I had two colors mixed together and it was kind of weird. So, but the other colors definitely stamped out really well. And there was really hardly any shadowing, definitely not enough to be distracting. And you can see that's like in the light. So if I were to lay the paper down, you can see even less of the shadowing. So I really like that. It's, you know, enough. If you're familiar with the kind of paper weights, 120 is a really nice weight for a notebook paper, so it'll fold nicely. I can staple all these pages together, but it's not too thick that I'm not going to be able to kind of fold these over, and it's not too thin where once I adhere my photos, it's just going to kind of flop all over the place. So I'm really happy that I found this paper. I will link it down in the description box, and it's over on my Amazon favorites. But sorry for that long spiel on paper, but like I was saying, it was really hard for me to find a good quality one. If you have recommendations, please leave them in the comments so other people can benefit from those. But yeah, I just wanted to share kind of my findings on that. And I did way too much research on paper. So anyways, I am just really happy to find that I found something. So what I have here are a bunch of notes. I kind of figured out what I wanted to have for each day. I decided that for the first 3 days, so for day 1, I'm just going to document our morning, for day 2, our afternoon, for day 3, our evening, and then for Thursday and Friday, I'm going to do the whole day. For Saturday, I think I'm going to do a what I'm noticing page, and then for Sunday, I'm going to do another full day. So I'm going to switch it up from day to day just because honestly, our days are so similar now that we are, you know, social distancing, we're at home all the time, so a lot of our days are the same. I did want to jump in and show you how I printed onto my paper. So this printing process is pretty much the same as what I use for my journaling cards. If you haven't seen the video where I explain that, I will link that down below. But basically, I just have my journaling laid out in Photoshop on this 8.5 by 8.25. So I just drew some lines so I could get, you know, cropping in there so I would know where to place my paper. And then I applied some removable adhesive to my test print, and then I just stuck down my paper that I had already trimmed down. Again, this is another reason why I just wanted to buy my own loose leaf paper, because I didn't want to have a crease in it. I wanted it to go through my printer really easily, and so this is kind of what I have. So you can see all my notes on there. I did write all of that out just to keep myself straight as I'm kind of working through all of this. It's going to be one of those notebooks that I don't put together until the very end. So I needed to be able to kind of keep all of that straight, and it doesn't really make sense when it's all kind of loose like this. But then once you have it as an actual notebook, then everything kind of, you know, all the pages turn and it all makes sense again. So that was kind of my plan with this, and you can see there how I have it laid out. I did leave myself a couple of pages for just as extra paper in case I want to add in more photos or more journaling, and if I want to kind of switch things up as I'm working. So I have my introduction printed, but most likely I won't be adding in anything else until the very end. So I'll have my journaling kind of typed up, hopefully, or I'll at least have some notes written, but then I won't actually be adding it into this notebook until the very end. So that is a look at my plans, and now I'm going to go ahead and jump into my cover. I wanted to go ahead and share with you how I'm putting together a cover for my notebook. So let's go ahead and get into that. So I just trimmed down some regular craft cardstock. It's not a super heavyweight cardstock. I think it's the Recollections brand from Michaels. And then I grabbed a couple of stamp sets. These are from the Studio Calico stamp subscription. They've released in previous months, so I'm not sure if they're going to be available on the website right now. They tend to bring them back for sale separately later on, but I will check and link them up if they are available. But really, you could use any kind of stamp set. If you want to recreate this design, you could just use any small icons. I really love these ones that were hand illustrated by Kylie in Kentucky is her Instagram handle. She does some of the designs for Studio Calico. And then the other one that I'm going to be using is a set that was designed by Christine Heron of Everyday Explorers. She also designed a set for Studio Calico, and she had a bunch of these smaller icons. And I just thought it would be a really nice kind of subtle look to have this repeated pattern at the top and bottom of the cover. So I went in with some washi tape and just kind of covered up. I wanted a bit of a guideline for where to stop my stamping, and this definitely took a little bit of a different turn. I thought I was going to just make kind of a pattern all over the cover, but I ended up just kind of stopping there and leaving it just at the top and the bottom. I felt like that was a little bit more of a simple look, so I'm gonna go in with some alpha stamps and just spell out or use the letters for week in the life. These are also Studio Calico alphas, and I will link those also down below. I wish that I would have used that darker brown for this. Once I actually have this stamped out, I realized that it looks a little bit off to me to have the really black letters with the light print, so the lighter kind of brownish color for the icons. So I end up trying to save this using some gray ink with some more icons, and I'm really happy with how this turned out. Again, I wasn't completely convinced yet that I like this cover until I come in with a white gel pen to kind of finish things off, and then I'm really happy with how this turned out in the end. I think I just slowly built it. If you're ever working on a design and you're like, oh, I just really hate how it's coming together, I think it's really helpful to just keep kind of going with it and trying to like play around with it. And I've surprised myself a lot with designs that I thought I was going to really end up disliking. I end up loving them. So if you're going to like scrap a project anyways, just keep going with it and see if it gets better. And if it doesn't, you can always start again. But that's kind of what I did here, and I just ended up really enjoying it. So I stamped down a little dotted pattern there, and then I used the 2020 from this old Feed Your Craft stamp set. And I am just going to, I ended up using another little icon next to 2020. And then this is where it really changes for me. I'm going to go in with a white gel pen. I'm not sure what gel pen this is. I don't think it has a brand on it. It was in the brand new travel collection from Studio Calico. I tried to see if it sold separately on their website and I didn't see it. But if I can find this pen somewhere online, I will also link it up, or at least put the details of it in the description box. But it is a really good one. I haven't tried out a lot of white gel pens. I know there are other options out there, but yeah, this was a really good one. I was very happy with how it performed. So that is it, you guys. That is my cover. I really hope that you enjoyed this kind of mix up of the flip throughs, with process, with talking you through my plans. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and hit that red subscribe button if you want to make sure you don't miss any future videos. But that's it for today. Good luck on your week in the life. I think I'll be doing mine the week that this gets posted on YouTube. And I will see you next week with a brand new video. Bye.